Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to A Time for Truth show. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a 40-year New York City surgeon. And tonight, we're going to actually do something that's very practical and very important, and that's to know how to present education about drugs to our community, to our kids in middle school, elementary school, high school, college, to preserve our families. And so, I think enough has been said, and there's no mother or father, uncle or aunt out there who want their kids, their nephews, their daughters on drugs. There's no disagreement on this. This cuts across all political barriers, cuts across all creeds, nationalities, races, religions. None of us want our kids on drugs. And so today we're going to present the program and how to present the drug education. And this is the program that I utilize, which is called the Foundation for a Drug-Free World. And these booklets you can obtain after the show at drugfreeworld.org. And so I'm going to begin immediately so that you know how to present. And the other thing I wanted to say to you is don't feel like you have to be perfect. Anything is better than nothing when it comes to saving a life. You don't know how important what you say and the impact that it creates on a child, on a teenager, on a young adult. So let's get right on with it. So the first thing is decide that you want to help to make kids safe. 100,000 Americans have died in 2021 from drug overdoses. It's gone up from 93,000 the year before, up from 73,000 the year before that. And if you realize in the 10-year Vietnam War, we lost about 58,000 Americans, then you realize that in 1 year, we've lost double that amount to drugs. This can't go on. This is a real crisis. And as my friend Johnny Ford says, this is a pandemic. As Globetrotter Bobby Hunter said, this is World War III, and we all are working together against a common enemy of drugs. So let's get started. Once you've decided and you've seen the need, the next thing is to schedule an event at your church, at your synagogue, at your school after school activity, at a sporting activity, at a community event, at a political rally, wherever this problem is plaguing the United States countrywide. Once you set that up, then what you need to do is to first introduce yourself. A step before this, I would encourage you to go on the site and get a little bit of education for yourself at drugfreeworld.org. There's some free online courses you can take. You could read the internet site, and it's a wonderful site. It's not my site. I just happen to be a representative. It's an international group, Drug Free World International, with its headquarters in Los Angeles, comprised of people of all walks of life, all nationalities, just like you and I. And so you can research that site, look it over, become familiar with it so that you feel comfortable. The first thing you do then is you introduce yourself. So for me, I've already done that. I've told you who I was. So you would introduce yourself. You'd say, "Hi, I'm Mrs. Molly Johnson, and I have a store downtown, and I decided that I want to visit you because 100,000 Americans have died this year, and there's a lot of misinformation out in the world. There's a pill called fentanyl that's out in society, and I don't want you guys to become the effect of it because kids are dying from fentanyl. It's a very dangerous drug, more potent than morphine, which is used in hospitals for pain relief. So you can imagine the danger. So you let them know why you were there. You let them know who you are, and then you get started. You let them know that you're there to educate them, and that you recommend the Drug Free World program because it's free. It's in 22 languages, and you can basically show them the little booklet, and you can have them there ready. If you order them from Drug Free World, they'll get sent to you free of charge. There's no cost for this. The cost is borne by all Americans who donate to the program and from people worldwide. We're all fighting a common enemy, so we're all donating to this thing. Once you get that introduction done, the next thing you go into is you say to them, who knows what a drug is? What is the definition of a drug? And they'll answer you, and someone will say, a drug is something a doctor prescribes. And you say, very good. And then you ask again to the audience, what is a drug? And someone will say, oh, a drug is what you do or you take when you have pain to get rid of the pain. You say, very good. You say again, what is a drug? And somebody says to you, well, a drug is something that can get you high and get you feeling really good. And you say, okay, very good. And you let them go on. And once they finish, giving their definitions, or you've gotten maybe 6 or 7, or you feel like you've accomplished the purpose, then you tell them, if they haven't gotten it already, and usually they don't, you let them know, I'm going to let you know something now that hasn't come out. A drug is a poison. A drug is a poison. And you let them know that when they get prescription drugs, the doctor tells them exactly how to take it. Why is that? Well, because if they take it incorrectly, they can get sick. Why can they get sick? Because a drug is basically a poison. Even medical drugs, taken incorrectly, can poison your system. They can be harmful. They have to be taken properly. That's why we go to school so many years. I personally went to school 6 years after college, and most health practitioners have gotten extensive training in how to prescribe drugs or medications correctly, because incorrectly they cause problems. So now, once you tell them a drug is a poison, the next thing you do is you let them know a little bit of it stimulates you. And you give them something that they don't realize is that arsenic, which is a poison, which can kill you. If you take a very minute amount of arsenic, it doesn't kill you. A little minute amount of arsenic actually stimulates you. Most people don't realize that, but it actually stimulates you. There's some stories about the witches back in the 16 and 1500s, and that they took some of this arsenic. Now, number 2, you say to them, if you take too much of the drug no longer stimulates you, now it depresses you. And a drug can be a depressant. And you go over with them that if they think about somebody who has drank a lot of beers, at first they get stimulated, and then after a while they start getting groggy, and they lose their balance or they pass out. Because a drug taken in a more increasing amount becomes a depressant. If you're lucky, all it does is that you go to sleep and you wake up the next day, if you're lucky. And then the next thing you go into, and if you continue past the stimulant and depressive state, then a drug can kill you. And that's the third state, is that the drug no longer just depresses you, but it can kill you. Why? Because it depresses your breathing, it depresses your heart, and it can affect your brain. And what happens is you can go into a coma, and if you're not lucky, you don't wake up, you die, and you become one of the 100,000 Americans who have died this year. So it's important to get this concept across to them that drugs are not innocuous, that they're not just something to play with. The drugs are poison. Taking a little bit stimulates you. Taking a little bit more, you start going to sleep. And taking too much, and if you're lucky, you just pass out. If you're not so lucky, you go into a coma, but maybe you wake up. And if you're not lucky at all, you die. So at that point, you have their attention. And so now that you have their attention, you want them to know, okay, so why do people take drugs? And you can ask around and they say, well, sometimes we don't feel good. Well, sometimes it's very stressful. Well, when I go to a party, I want to fit in and, I don't want the girls to guys or the guys, if you're a girl, I don't want to feel out of place. So I take a little bit to relax. So what you do is you let them know that life is basically a game. And if they think about it, when they play, let's say, football in high school, in football, sometimes when the person hits you in a game, you're playing a game, but it hurts. You get knocked to the ground, but you get back up and you actually get back in the game because you're actually in a game. You're not there trying to hurt the other person, but there's physical activity that involves sometimes not winning, and so you get knocked down. But as long as it's a game, then you're enjoying it. So even though you get knocked down, you don't feel like it's some horrible thing because you're enjoying the game. If you think about that when they're singing, you can let them know, well, if you go to choir, you may not be the lead singer. Maybe you want to be the lead singer, but you realize you're not going to be the lead singer, but you still sing. And so you're happy because you're with all your friends and it's a good feeling. It's a good vibe. And so you're happy and that brings you up and you don't feel a loss. Or when you go to school and you're in class, sometimes you don't get something. So you feel like maybe you're not as smart as you should be. You feel bad about it. But if you continue, then you go, oh, that's what it means. Oh, I understand now. And you feel more confident. You feel like you learned something. And again, you feel good. There's something important to put out to the students is that in everyone's bodies, naturally, there are neurotransmitters or hormones, glandular substances, basically that the body lets out that makes you feel good. Most of you already know it's called endorphins. Endorphins are naturally occurring, and when you do something good in your life, or you go to a wedding, or you hit a home run, or you're with your boyfriend or girlfriend and have a great time, or with your family and it's an enjoyable Thanksgiving, these endorphins are being released and they make you high. They make you naturally high. So it's not a drug. You don't become addicted to it. And it's a natural way of feeling good. And that again goes back to doing something pro survival, something that helps the family, something that helps your girlfriend or boyfriend, something that helps your school, or something that helps you. Like if you go to exercise and you go to LA Fitness, I love to go exercising and sometimes I'm very tired at the end of the day, but I drag myself there because I know that if I exercise, I start waking up. And why do I start waking up? Because I start excreting these endorphins, which are natural. And so by the time you get done, you actually feel better. And you go home and you're not as tired as you were when you came out of work. It's a little secret that you can share with them and you let them realize this, that life is a game. You're not always going to be winning, but if you take it that way and you continue, then you can actually keep yourself at a good level. You don't need the drugs. The drugs are a crutch, but they're a crutch that are actually going to harm you physically and mentally. So it's very important to get that point across to them so that they realize that their emotions are controlled by how they approach life. If they approach life realizing that they're part of a community and that they need to do things that are pro-survival, they're going to help other people. It's not because they have to, but it's because it's actually something that nature has already put into our system. so that when you do it, you get a natural high. When you start taking drugs, you end up like some unfortunate people who did, like Whitney Houston, Heath Ledger, and others, right? Who take, or Michael Jackson, who unfortunately didn't realize that. They took either medical drugs or street drugs and they passed away. It didn't work because what happened is they needed more and more of the drug, which is another thing they need to understand, is the more they take a drug, the more body gets used to it and needs it, the more drug they need. And this is why when you start taking drugs, you keep graduating to the next higher level drug. So you start out with marijuana. The next thing you know, you're using a higher drug like cocaine. Or maybe then that doesn't work for you. So you're doing that more and you want something more, so you do heroin or LSD. Or you even want something more and you start going on morphine or fentanyl. And before you know it, you've done so much, you die. So it's important to get that point across to them that the drug is not really going to give them something that's going to help them because they're going to end up having tremendous problems and possibly dying. And if they really confront that, that's not something anyone wants for themselves. So it's not something that is not harmful. And it's very important to realize that unfortunately, because of some of the movies that have been out for a while, because some of the shows have been out for a while, and because of some of the lies that the traffickers tell to sell drugs, they have misinformation. So it's important to inform them. Now, once you get to that point, now they have a way of keeping themselves feeling better. It's important to give them this alternative that they can have friends, they can have family, they can do sports, they can do dance, they can sing, so that they realize how to keep themselves high naturally. Because nobody wants to be sad. People want to be happy. So that's the natural way of doing that. Once you get to that point, then the next thing that you will do is you're going to show them some videos so that they can get a little more awareness of the Drug Free World site, what's available to them, because there are public service announcements on every drug. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play two of those for you. Engineer Buddha, please put them on for the audience.
This is the life right here, man. They said weed wouldn't lead to harder drugs. They lied. Find out the truth about weed. DrugFreeWorld.org.
Nearly half of all public school children in the United States have tried drugs or alcohol by the time they're 13 years old.
A third of teens have gone to house parties where there was alcohol, pot, cocaine, ecstasy, or prescription drugs.
Over half of kids say it would be easy for them to get pot if they wanted some.
7 out of 10 teenagers have been offered an illegal drug.
Teenagers whose parents talk to them about drugs are 42% less likely to use drugs.
Get your kids the truth about drugs. DrugFreeWorld.org.
Very good. Now, something I would encourage you to do, and do this before your presentation, is go on drugfreeworld.org site. There are about 16 of these public service announcements, and you can choose the ones that you want to use. It's totally your discretion. This is something that you want to make yours. Don't feel that you have to do this the way somebody else does it, and take what I'm giving you as a framework. Don't feel that you have to memorize it or do it exactly. Do it with you involved. The important thing here is getting the point across that drugs are poison, they're dangerous, they cause death. You lose your friends, your family, you become criminal. 90% of the shootings in the world are caused when the shooter was on some kind of drug. And when you really look at it, whether it's a medical drug or a street drug, what difference does it make? Do we want all these shootings going on? No. We talk about all kinds of different regulations that we're passing, but let's get the cause of the problem. Let's get the person feeling better. Let's prevent the drug use in the first place. And that's very important. Now, so review that for yourself so you can see what's available to you. When you are on the site, you can order the booklets. You can also order some DVDs, and you can put that DVD in your laptop, and that DVD has all the public service announcements. You can have that set up. You can play with it in your house or in your office before you do the event to get comfortable and how to play the DVD, how to get the announcement that you want to put out. And you can order the booklets ahead of time. As I said, they'll be sent to you free of charge. And you can get in the language that you want. Some of you out there may be Russian from Brooklyn, New York. I'm happy to be from New York City. Some of you may be from Texas, and maybe you're Mexican or you're from Central America and you want to do it in Spanish. Some of you may be out on the West Coast and you're of Asian descent. And so the booklets are in Chinese, they're in Japanese, they're in Korean. They're in 22 languages. So you can get them in the language that you desire. The main point is to do something. Because if you look at it, when we educate and we prevent drug usage, not only are we making the community safe, but we're saving lives. And, you know, we all want a safe world. The other thing we want is we want to have a country that's doing well. And so if you look at it, if kids are in school and they're on drugs, they're not going to really understand what they're learning because they're high. So it's really not a very good thing, because later on, if they become a doctor or a pilot, I don't know if I want to be on that plane. I don't know if I want that person to be doing surgery on me. So we really need to take a look at, do you want people working on you who are used to taking drugs? And I think the answer really from all of you, and maybe I've shocked some of you when I said this, is no. You know, I don't think you're going to get on that airplane if you know your pilot is used to getting high. I don't think you're going to go into the operating room if your surgeon has been on cocaine or marijuana or been vaping. I don't really think so. So let's really take a look at this and let's go ahead and present. Now, at this point of the presentation, these are all things I wanted just to get out, because as you go into the presentation, these things will come to your mind. So I wanted to answer this for you. But now at this point in the presentation, you've shown the DVD, you've shown the public service announcements from the DVD or from online, because you can get them on YouTube also. However you want to play them is fine, whatever's easiest for you. At that point, these little booklets you should have ready to hand out. If you come by yourself, the best thing to do is to enlist some of the students and pass them out in the auditorium. If you're in a synagogue, a church, or a mosque, have the people there help you. Have them pass out the booklets. Get all the booklets out. And then what you can do at the end of the presentation, something that's a lot of fun, is you can take a picture. If you're in a school and, you know, it's not really allowed, it's okay. You don't have to take the picture. If you can get it so the parents think it's okay, or you're not going to publish it anywhere, then take the picture. What you're doing is you're just establishing a group, camaraderie, and a good feeling. So just like in Thanksgiving and in Christmas, we take pictures. The only reason we take the pictures is because I don't know, I guess we all like pictures. When you go to Disney World, they send a lot of pictures of Goofy and Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse. People like pictures. That's why we go to movies. So at the end of the event, if you can, and if you're going to keep it confidential, or if it's not a problem, take a picture with a group. And, you know, you can feel good about what's been done. You can share it with a teacher, with a school. If it's not available or you shouldn't do it, then don't do it. That's fine too. The main thing is to do the presentation. And you can, at that point, if you'd like, open up for some question and answer, because some of the students are participants. And you can just realize it doesn't have to just be kids. You can give this presentation to adults, to a Kiwanis club. If you're the president of a Rotary, by all means, feel comfortable to present to your Rotary. If you have questions and you want to reach out to me or my group, okay, because my wife Maria's involved, my daughter Megan's involved, my friend David Tidman's involved, John Kerry's involved, you know, Tamik is involved, many people who are involved all across the country. You can call us or you can email us at fdfwamericas@gmail.com. That's fdfwamericas@gmail.com. If you have a question about how to present or something else, And you have the drugfreeworld.org website that you can also go to, and they will answer your questions. At this point in the presentation, what I would tell you to do is get with whoever organized the activity with you, see how they liked it, see if they'd like to have another activity or they have other ideas. Because what we want to do is make our community safe. And that's really what's important. So get with them, ask the principal, ask the teacher, ask the rabbi, ask the priest, ask the coach, ask the dance teacher how they liked it. Would they like to have another presentation? Would they like to put it in Kiwanis and the Rotary Club, and wherever? The drugs are a problem everywhere. And so do that so that this way you can set up your next presentation. If there are people there that want to learn and you feel like you're not capable of teaching them, by all means, email us at fdfwamericas@gmail.com or drugfreeworld.org, and we will teach them how to present so that we can actually get this drug problem in our country under control, and the vaping problem. At this point, we're getting near the end of the presentation. I really can't go on any further, but I do want to say this one thing about vaping. Vaping is very dangerous. The THC levels when I was in high school were 1 or 2, and even that was a problem. The THC levels nowadays are 25 for marijuana, very high, 30, 35, without a vape. Once you vape them or aerosolize them in a dab rig or a bong, they get up to about 85, 90, 95% THC, and the National Institute of Health has shown that causes a lot of mental problems, a lot of physical problems. We can go over that in some other presentation, but the main idea is not to vape, because even the flavorings cause carcinogenic, they cause cancer. They're not a good thing. So unfortunately, they're not the panacea that we thought they were for cigarette smoking. So I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and that you go out and that you check out the site, you learn for yourself, and you make your community safe, and we can all someday meet and feel good that at this point in time, we changed the future of our country, and we created a drug-free country, a drug-free community, and eventually a drug-free world. Thank you for tuning in.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet